Today, you guys are going to be writing your own problems to go with the numeric expression. Now, remember, a numeric expression is, a way of saying something with numbers, okay? Uses numbers and operations. So up here, I have 15 divided by 3. Now, there's one thing that you need to remember when you're writing numeric expressions. Number one, especially when you're dealing with division, which I think is the toughest to do, is the number first is the number that's being split. Or if you were to write it this way, 15 divided by 3. You're reading the number in the box and it's being divided by the number outside of the box. So when you're doing a numeric expression, it's important to know that this is the thing that's being split, number one, okay? And number two, the wording can get a little tricky. A lot of times I find that students will turn division problems into multiplication problems when they have to write them out as a word problem. So I have two examples here, and I just want to take a look at which one actually shows 15 divided by 3 to help us pay attention to the language that we use. Jill had 3 days to complete 15 hours of homework. Okay. Jill is getting $15 each day for 3 days. Okay. Well, this is using the word each. So since it's using the word each, isn't it a division problem? No, it's not. Okay? So she's getting $50 each day for 3 days. So if you are set for 3 days, that means she's getting the same amount 3 times. You would actually be multiplying 15 times 3 in this problem. Okay, and this is the mistake that a lot of kids do when it comes to trying to tell the difference between multiplication and division. It says each, but she's getting that amount each day for 3 days, which means she's getting it again and again and again, which would make it multiplication. All right, up here, she had 3 days, so she's got a total of 3 days to complete a total of 15 hours of homework. So we have two totals. We can't do more than 3 days, and we don't have to do more than 15 hours of homework. So in order to figure this out, the logical thing to do, so if you think kind of like common sense, if I had 3 days to do 15 hours of homework, gosh, I hope that's not true. What would I logically do? I logically would take the 15 hours of homework and I would split it up evenly over 3 days instead of trying to do it all in one day or waiting till the last possible minute to do my homework, okay? So that's kind of the difference between the wording and really having to pay careful attention to that wording. And being able to write these problems for the expressions will help you understand the wording when you're trying to solve problems as well. So this is a very useful skill. So if we were to look at something else, some of them are a little bit easier. I think division, multiplication are the hardest. But like if we had something like 4 plus 3, you could always do like the kindergarten example of Amy has 4 apples and Kelly has 3 apples, right? So that would be an addition problem. I mean, you would finish it out a lot of times with how many apples do they have all together, and it's usually the question that helps you figure out what the operation is. What we have to be careful too, so addition's kind of easy, multiplication's a little easier. Writing division problems and subtraction problems can be a little harder because division problems and subtraction problems, again, require that you are splitting up the correct thing or that you are taking away from the correct thing. Okay, so if you have 15 minus 3 instead of 15 divided by 3, those are my favorite numbers today for some reason. So if you had to write a problem for this, if you wrote, there were 3 people at the party, then 15 showed up, okay, that would be addition, right? 3 plus 15. If we wanted to make it subtraction, 3 people at the party and then 15 people left. Well, because we use that word left, we're taking away from. But the problem is 15 people, then 15 people left. Not there are 15 people left. So then 15 people left. Or to make it a little easier, we could say 15 people went home. So that amount of people is being subtracted from who's at the party. But we said there were 3 people at the party. So we have to be careful of the wording. In this problem, we said there were 3 and then 15 people left. So we're subtracting 3 from 15. If you're talking about temperature or negative numbers, you can do that, but we're talking about people. We don't have a negative amount of people. So when we're writing these problems, we have to be careful. We can't just say, oh, look, this is 15 minus 3, because it's not. We have to be careful of the order that our numbers appear in the problem and how we word it. So in order to make this problem work, we would have to do, there were 15 people, and then 3 people went home. Now we can do 15 minus 3, okay? So it's the language that we really have to pay attention to help us out with this. And again, the language when you're adding and multiplying isn't as difficult sometimes as the language when you're subtracting and dividing, because you have to get the correct order of your words. All right? So if you have 13 less than, we came across this yesterday, 13 less than 42, okay? In the problem, so it's 13 less than, the 13 comes first, but 13 less than actually means the 13 is what's being subtracted. So it would be 42 minus 13. Okay, so again, pay attention to order. Just because a number comes first in a problem doesn't always mean that that's what you're subtracting from. You have to pay attention to word order, and you have to pay attention to how you're expressing your numeric expression in words to make sure that we get the correct outcome. Okay? And it is important, especially when you're doing a division problem, don't just assume that because you have a bigger number and a smaller number, everybody knows that the bigger number goes inside the box. Because in 5th grade, we're going to start dividing smaller numbers by bigger numbers. So you really have to make it clear what is the number that's being split up. So you can't say 3 candy bars. So if you're doing 15 divided by 3, split by 15 people. Okay? So if you want to do 15 divided by 3, this wouldn't work. Okay? Because this problem, the 3 candy bars are being split. So this problem would be 3 divided by 15. So you do have to be very careful about the wording. Okay? So you could divide 3 candy bars by 15 people, and each person would get a little bit. We haven't learned how to do that yet. But if this is the problem you're trying to do, if you're trying to do 15 divided by 3, then you need to make sure that you are putting the correct numbers in the correct places and the correct things are being split. Okay? So pay attention to order and pay attention to language when you're writing your own word expressions to go with your problems.